Hello and welcome to the Kick in the Creatives podcast, hosted by myself, Sandra Busby, and my fellow creative Tara Roskell, offering you interviews, inspiration, motivation, and a gentle prod in the right direction. And for lots more information, challenges, and other useful tools to help you get creating, you can go to www.kickinthecreatives.com. And of course, this is where you can also find today's show notes. Enjoy the show. Kevin Wells, also known as Squiggle King, has always been a compulsive doodler. When he was 30, he became a London cabbie, and for the first time in his adult life, he had more control over his time and decided to get an art education. He did an A-level in art and design at his local college, followed by a part-time fine art degree course. At his degree show in 2005, he was selected the winner of the Windsor and Newton Watts prize, which led to him becoming the first artist in residence at the Watts Gallery in Compton. This began a long association with the gallery, where as well as having a solo show there in 2006, he led drawing and painting workshops with schools and groups from the local community, and did so until a few years ago. In 2015, he was elected a member of the prestigious Society of Graphic Fine Art, or the Drawing Society, with whom he now exhibits regularly. We really enjoyed chatting with Kevin, and if you're in need of some inspiration, then listen on. Kevin, first of all, we really thank you for joining us today on the podcast. I've been dying to speak to you. First of all, we'd love to know, when did you actually start to draw? Because you're insanely talented. Were you an early starter?
Well, thank you. Thanks for asking me to do this anyway. And yes, I've always drawn. I can't really remember when I started. Ever since I was a child, really, I've drawn. So yes, I guess I would say I am, yeah.
So did you go to art school, or were you self-taught?
Well, a bit of both, really. I did go to art school, but not till I was in my 30s. I changed my job and I had an opportunity to go to art school. So I did. I applied, I got a portfolio together and got in there. And it was a 5-year part-time fine art degree, and I loved it. But as I say, by that stage, I was pretty much self-taught, really, sort of always drawn and always sort of try to make funny drawings, really. So it's done the same sort of thing. So yes, so a bit of both, really.
So what did you do after school instead then, if you didn't go into art? What did you study, or where did you go to?
Well, I always wanted to do art, but I think I had some sort of crazy sort of stubborn streak when I was 16, left school and worked for BT, but then did an apprenticeship there. But as I say, I always drew, and I kind of regretted not going to art school, but then sort of life carried on. Yeah. And then when I passed the knowledge, to be a London black cab driver, and I started doing that, and then suddenly I had more control over my time. So I did an A-level, went to art school, like a local college, and did an A-level art there. And then while I was there, someone mentioned that there's this part-time fine art degree course at Farnham, actually, at the what used to be the Surrey Institute of Art and Design. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a go, and I applied for that and got a place, and then did 5 years there, which was fantastic, really. But they don't really sort of teach you how to make art there. It's more about changing the way you think about things. So that's what I took from that, really. So it makes you sort of how you look at the world and differently, and that's what I did. But it's the people you meet there more than anything, really. You sort of meet some great people who sort of friends for life, and people who think similarly to you. And it's that being in that environment, I think, it really helps your creativity, really, and it certainly did with me. Yeah.
So when you were cabbieing, were you sketching while you were waiting to pick people up and stuff like that?
yes, basically, yes, yeah. But so I always doodled, and when I went to art school, you suddenly had to start keeping sketchbooks and that. So when I first went there, I bought a nice big A3 sketchbook, and you get too scared to draw in it, don't you? Because it's a big, big expensive thing. You're sort of terrified to spoil it. So then I had an old A5 ring bound sketchbook which I'd had for years, and it was already drawn in So I started carrying that around with me and just basically doodling in it in biro. You'd see someone, you start drawing them, they'd walk off, but then I just carry on the drawing as I finish it. Like imagine what they look like, as it were. And I basically doodled in these sketchbooks in biro mainly, and I got loads of them, and that was the basis of my work, really. These sort of biro cartoony doodles, really. And as I went through like my degree course, that was what my work was about, really. It was quite fun.
I mean, I love them. I would advise anyone to go on your Instagram page who's listening, because they're insane. They are so good. And I was wondering, obviously, you say you were obviously drawing ever since you can remember. Has it always been people in particular you've loved to draw? Or, obviously when you went to do your fine arts degree, presumably they were trying to get you to do landscapes and things like that. Has it always been portraiture in particular that you're interested in?
Yes, I don't know why. It's just I like drawing people. It's more fun, I think, and it helps if you focus on one thing. You become better at it, and that's what I like to draw. When you going to art school, they don't try and sort of make you draw specific things, but they make you question why you're doing things and what you're doing. But I'm sorry, I was quite stubborn, and I carried on doing the same thing, and eventually they accept it, and you realise that's what you're going to do, and there's no point banging their head against the wall trying to change you. But yeah, I've always drawn people. I think when I was at primary school, I was known as I was the person who drew people. There's another guy who drew animals, and someone else who drew everything else, like in my class. So I know I've always drawn people. And I tried to do funny drawings as well. That's what I've always tried to do. I think being quite shy, and it was a good way of sort of breaking the ice or whatever. You do funny drawings, making people laugh. I think it's quite a good way to go about it. Yeah, but I have always drawn people. Yeah, and that's what I enjoy doing the most. Yeah.
Your journey sounds so similar to mine, with being afraid to spoil the sketchbook and starting late, and then, concentrating on one particular sort of subject.
Yes.
We're in very different sort of places as to where we're, as what you do and what I do, but I totally get what you mean by that. Obviously, you say about the fine art. Were you doing portraiture in a fine art kind of style? Well, we were chatting about this earlier, Tara, weren't we? Would you call it caricature or not? It's not. It is, but it isn't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is caricature. I do draw caricatures, but the artists I admire do that sort of work, really, and are cartoonists, caricaturists. So, like people, if you go back to people like Otto Dix, George Grosz, their drawings were very sort of caricature-like, but I wouldn't say they were caricatures necessarily. It's more expressionist, whatever. But I am doing caricatures at the moment, and my work is always been quite cartoony, sort of exaggerating features and stuff, a bit grotesque, really. So
even at college, then, when they were teaching you.
Yeah, it was even more grotesque when I was at college. My sketchbook drawings are horrible, really, really, very visceral, and I work with biro a lot, because a lot of people don't say you shouldn't rub out your lines when you draw. I don't really go with that. If you draw an eye in the wrong place, then rub it out and move it. That's fine. But if drawing in biro or pen and ink, you can't change it. So it makes you draw in a different way, sort of
almost embracing the mistakes, sort of thing.
Right. So the drawings were quite visceral and quite horrible, really. So yeah.
Did you do your tutors? Did you draw all the tutors and stuff?
I wouldn't dare. No, definitely not.
No, they'd have failed him.
Too much respect.
the insult. Have you ever done that? Have you ever drawn someone and thought, oh dear, I wonder what they're going to think of this?
I got in trouble for a caricature I didn't do once. When I was long time ago, when I was at college with BT, I was drawing the lecturers when we were like in the classes and stuff, and people really loved them. So I got a reputation for doing it. And someone else did a caricature of someone else from our group, and it wasn't a very good one. So I was quite insulted by this. But he thought I'd done it, so he got very upset about it. Yeah.
Oh no! So One thing about caricatures that I've always been baffled by is how is it that because if I draw a portrait, if I did a portrait of, I don't know, one of my family or anything,
Yes.
it can be literally an eye, a millimeter in the wrong place or a highlight in the wrong place, and it will just look wrong. Like there's something about it that it's not them.
Yes.
And it can be a tiny mistake. So how is it that with a caricature, you can do absolutely everything that is about them that is so different, and yet you know instantly who it is? What's the secret?
I don't know if I do wish I knew the secret. I think it's intuitive with me. I think I don't know. It either works or it doesn't. And as I say, I have to move things around a bit to get like this. Sometimes it doesn't work at all. But I think if I thought that if you try and analyze it too much, then you lose the magic, as it were. It's completely intuitive. I just go in there and I don't look at someone and think, oh, I don't think I do. It's completely intuitive. I just draw it how I see it, and hopefully it's going to work.
So what is it about a particular person then that makes you want to draw them?
Sometimes it's a person. They just have to be drawn. Don't like something like Donald Trump or Boris Johnson, because they're in the news and they're quite in at the time. You want to draw them. Sometimes someone's just you're just attracted to drawing them, aren't you? They've got a really, really good face. I know someone like Clint Eastwood or something like that. You just have to draw them. You just see them. They have to be drawn. But I'll have a go at drawing anyone. That's the thing. It's nice. Sometimes people are not very easy to caricature, but it's nice to push yourself to try and good looking people are very difficult to caricature, aren't they? Sometimes, but I like to have a go at that. Yeah.
So when you're drawing these people, do you ever have to have a go, more than one go? Are you like having a quick sketch first, or would you just go for it and see what happens?
I go straight in, and it either works or it doesn't. And sometimes you know it's not working, so you just put it to one side. I might come back to it another time. Other time you fiddle around with it, and it works. But generally speaking, it's because at the moment I'm drawing in. I always changed. I changed my medium, what I'm working with anyway. But at the moment I draw with sort of colouring pencils basically, and Faber-Castell polychromos, and I can rub them out a bit, so I can move things around. It's a bit like clay, really. It's like drawing, but it's also like a clay sculpture. You can move the features around and play with it. And I think the fact you do that, it gives the drawing more character anyway. That you could see that I've moved things around and changed things, and it gives it a different quality. So, as I say, it's a bit like a sculpture, really, rather than a drawing. I can move the things around and try and manipulate it into what I want it to look like.
So you mentioned those coloured pencils you use. Are they your favourite medium, or do you have a particular favourite?
They are at the moment. Yeah, as I always was. A year ago, I was sort of drawing in sort of a very dark pencil. It's a Stigler 8B.
All right.
Black, which it's got very high carbon content, so it's a really dark pencil. And then I was using watercolor and paints. But then I think it's watching, the Portrait Artist of the Year on Sky.
Yeah, we love that.
Yes, I love that. And the guy who won it last year, Curtis Holder, he drew with pencils, colouring pencils.
Yeah.
Wow, and his style was quite squiggly, which is quite like what my drawing style is like. So I think I found some colouring pencils that are stolen from the harvester, stolen off the child in the harvester. and I did a few drawings of them, and they kind of worked. So I looked around, and the Faber-Castell pencils, as you look on the internet and stuff, and a lot of people do really good drawings of those pencils, so they must be good. So I know it's not the pencil that's the problem, it's me. I know they've got the potential to do really good drawings, so I get some of them and use them, and they're really, I'm enjoying using those at the moment. Yes, definitely.
So are you the only adult in the harvester that's drawing? And have any of the kids got any pencils left?
No, exactly. Yeah. He went off to the salad bar, and I swiped their pencils, definitely.
I'm just wondering, have you got children of your own, and have you taught them if you do have children? Or
I have. They're older now though, but they can all draw and stuff. They chose not to. I think.
Yeah.
Me.
You work on a kind of toned background, don't you, as well, like a buff paper? Is that right?
Yes. I do sometimes. Yeah. It's a bit lazy, isn't it? Because if you start with a white sheet of paper, it's quite intimidating, isn't it? I think artists talk about that, don't they? The white space, and they're scared to make the first mark and all that. And it's a lot harder work. Being intrinsically lazy and not having a lot of time. If you've got a toned background, you've already got that mid-tone. It's much easier. And also, I started staining paper as well. Make up some coffee and stain the paper, leave it to dry, and it gives an interesting texture to work with. It just makes the drawing more interesting, I think, and gives it a bit more character. But yes, so I've been using. Actually, my daughter bought me a brown paper drawing pad about a year ago, and that's when I started using the brown paper, and I just enjoyed working that way. But I try to mix it up really, so it's not always the same.
Yeah. So
sometimes I draw on the white paper, and then sometimes it's brown, sometimes a bit of toned paper, and envelopes. And if something's got markings on it already, I think it adds something to the drawing. It gives it a bit more character.
Yeah, I agree. I just am intrigued to know, because you are very prolific. I mean, I recently found you on Instagram and started following you, and it seems like every day there's a new one comes up, and that's why I actually asked you, didn't I? How long does this take you? And I think you said about 2.5 hours or something, didn't you, for the drawing?
That particular one, yes.
Yeah. And I'm intrigued to know, so first of all, do you do this full time now for a living, or are you still working another job as well? And secondly, how much time do you find yourself drawing or make yourself draw, say, in an average week or a day?
Well, I don't do it for a living. I wish I did. Wish I did. But I draw as often as I can. When you're working, and you've got family life and everything, you have to try and fit it in when you can. That's probably why I draw quickly, because you try and get as much done in a short period of time. But I draw as often as I can, really. Ideally, I like to draw every day, even if it's just a little doodle on an envelope or something. But I try and draw every day. But I draw as often as I can. When I get days off, I try and make sure I sit down and do a drawing or a couple of drawings. But so I do work quite quickly. Generally, I would say one of those portrait drawings is between 1 and 4 hours. That's probably as much as I spend on one of those drawings. But obviously, I have done drawings where I've spent a prolonged period on it over several days or a couple of weeks or whatever. But generally speaking, 1 to 4 hours is the time I spend on those drawings that I post on Instagram. Yes, yeah.
So you actually could go on Portrait Artist of the Year then, because you could easily do it in 4 hours.
Oh well, I'd go to pieces, wouldn't I, under the pressure?
Oh yeah.
Have you ever had a go? Have you ever applied for it?
No, I haven't. No.
Oh,
I thought about it, but
you should.
I'd have to do a self-portrait, wouldn't I? Which is
that's my problem. Why do they make that the starting point to get in?
I know, yeah. That's the issue, and I have to stare at my face for 4 hours.
I have that problem too. Yeah. So I know you're a fan of art books.
Yes.
Yeah, you've cost me a fortune in the last couple of days. I've been ordering some Ralph Steadmans.
Oh, is that my fault?
That is your fault.
Oh dear, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Have you got any favourites in particular that inspired you, or any you can recommend for us?
I love Ralph Steadman's work anyway, and I've got a few of them. You got them second hand, so because I mean, art books are really expensive, aren't they?
Yeah.
I do collect them. So Ralph Steadman, I Leonardo. I remember it used to be in the local library. I used to get it out all the time and just look at the amazing drawings. It's because he wrote a book about Leonardo da Vinci called I Leonardo, as if he was Leonardo telling the story. But the images in there are incredible, and the drawings are absolutely beautiful. So I managed to get a copy of that a couple of years ago, and that's been a big inspiration to me. I love that. And there's another book. There's an artist, a New York illustrator and character designer called Peter DeSev, and he brought a book out called A Sketchy Past: The Art of Peter DeSev. and I really wanted this book, and I couldn't get it for ages. It was always sold out instantly, but I managed to get a copy of that, and his drawings are just incredible. He was a character designer on all the Ice Age movies.
Oh, right.
He does a lot of covers for the New Yorker and stuff like that. So he's an amazing artist. I'd recommend looking at his stuff. And the first book I ever got, art book I ever got, was sorry if I'm boring you.
No, carry on. We love talking about art books. Just slightly worried about my bank account.
Yeah. When I was 16, I first started work. I used to go to Foyles in London, and there was a book called Disney Animation, The Illusion of Life, and it was £30, which was a lot of money then. When I was earning about £40 a week, and it's the first art book I bought, and it's written by two of the original Disney animators, Ollie Johnston and.
You're flicking through it now, aren't you?
Yeah, I was trying to Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnson. And it's just a beautiful book. It tells the story of it, because the early Disney films are amazing works of art, and these are the guys who made them, did all the drawings for it. So that's a beautiful book, massive, great book. But that's the first art book, the proper art book I ever bought.
Did you copy those when you were 16? To practice. I mean,
yeah, I tried to emulate the style of things. I mean, that's how you learn to. That's how I learned to draw. Really, looking at other people's art and trying to draw like that, and then you eventually move on from it and try and do stuff that looks like you've done it. But yes, I used to love the political cartoons in the newspapers. I used to try and draw like them. And there was a cartoonist called Charles Griffin. And I used to love his, because he's talking about the 80s, the Thatcher years and that. And he did really, really beautiful caricatures and sort of pen and ink cross hatching and all that. And I loved trying to draw I wanted to draw like him. And obviously Ralph Steadman and Gerald Scarfe and Ronald Searle, they're the really British cartoonists. They're the people I was trying to draw like when I was younger, I guess, and who inspired me a lot.
Aren't they very much dip pen?
Yes.
Do you use that at all as well?
I have done and do, yes, occasionally, but it's
not your favourite.
I work in a particular medium for a while, then I move on to something else.
Right,
That's what I seem to do. Yes. Yeah.
Do you ever find though that perhaps one of your drawings just isn't working, and you're halfway through it and you're thinking, oh no, I just don't like this? How do you get over that hurdle when that happens, or do you find that most things just work now?
No, I wish that was true. Yeah, of course it happens. It's not working, and you have to. Some days nothing's going to work. You find some days it's not working for you, so you put it to one side and either never look at it again, or I might look at it and think, oh, it wasn't too bad, and develop it, but. Usually, if it's not working, it gets binned, and then I start another one. The best way I find is if it's not working, start another drawing, and if that's not working, start another drawing. If that's not working, it's not your day. Try again tomorrow. That's how that's how it sort of works with me. Yeah.
So you don't feel like it's I've because I know some people and our listeners, I'm sure, are going to relate to this, that they'll do a drawing, it doesn't work, and so they think, oh well, that's it. It puts them off doing another one because they're then instantly afraid of failure. But you just get back on the horse, keep going.
I think you have to have that confidence. You've done drawing. It's worked before, so it'll work again. But everyone has off days, don't they? When things aren't working, I think you have to accept it. It might not have enough sleep. Might be thinking about something else. It just might not be happening. It's just not working that day. But just put it away. I mean, try again the next day on that drawing, or just start a new one. I mean, that's my advice on that, really. It will work eventually, yeah.
Do you ever have a problem with procrastination? I know for me, if I'm going to draw a face, I can sometimes spend longer finding a face I want to draw than the actual drawing. And I don't know if you have a problem. How do you push through that and get on with it, sort of thing?
It's a problem. Sometimes you just don't feel like doing it, do you? And you can always make excuses for everything. But with social media, and there's a lot of imagery out there, isn't there? So if you see something, I might draw that sometime, just save it and save it on your iPad or whatever. So you try and have it so you've always got an image you can go to when you're in that situation. It's nice to have 2 or 3 things that you want to draw but haven't drawn yet. So just store things up. Just have a few ideas that you haven't started yet, but just keep them to one side so you've always got something to go to in an emergency, really.
Sorry, just another question. Whenever you draw someone like famous,
yes.
have you ever had them? Do you tag them? Do they ever come back to you? And
most people don't. No, but I mean,
no?
Yeah.
But you do tag them.
I do tag them sometimes. Yeah.
Oh, they're missing out.
Yeah, yeah. You did a fabulous one, Claudia Winkleman. I think I saw it yesterday. I thought, oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, she didn't come back to me with anything on that. No.
She was too busy doing her hair with a dandruff shampoo. Yeah.
I did the drawing earlier in the year. There's a program called Most Haunted.
Oh yes.
There's a character on there. I think it's Fred Batt. He was the demonologist, and I did a drawing of him, Ron Moody lookalike Fred Batt. And I did a drawing of him and tagged him. He got really annoyed. He said, "Why have you made me?" Yeah, he said, "Why have you made me look like Fagin? I'm not Jewish."
Oh, he must have been having a laugh.
No, I don't think so. No.
Oh dear.
So we spoke earlier about how much time you spend drawing. Do you think that pencil miles are the key to improvement?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. It's that 100,000 hours thing. I think that's probably true. The more you do it, the better you're going to get. Was it I know it's not quite the same, but the golfer Arnold Palmer said it's really strange. The more I practice, the luckier I get. It's the same sort of thing. Yeah, you definitely the more you do it, the more fluent you become, and the easier it becomes as well.
Yeah.
Are you
it's
a golfer?
Kind of a rhythm, isn't it? I think with drawing and my drawing anyway, there's like a rhythm to it. You sort of get into a rhythm, and that's why it's quick, I guess, and that comes with practice.
Yeah.
I was going to say, are you a golfer as well then?
No.
Oh. What's the favourite piece of art of your own that you've ever done, and why do you like it?
That's a difficult one because in my mind, what I'm working on at that moment is going to be the best thing I've ever done. So and it kind of has to be your favourite thing, doesn't it, for it to work. I think that the work I'm most proud of was the work I produced for my degree show. Actually, is more of a body of work than an individual piece of work, because it kind of came out of nowhere, and it worked quite well. Because I got to the end of my 5 years at the degree show, and it was February of my last year, and I didn't have any work for my degree show. I was getting quite stressed because it meant so much to me. I think I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I really didn't know what I was going to do. So I think I can't believe this. I've been here 5 years and I'm going to fail because I haven't got to put in my degree show. So I went to a tutorial, and it was quite clear I was in a bit of a bad place with my art. And the tutor was talking about what he'd been doing, where he'd been getting these like big canvases, and just making like grounds on them, and then using the grounds to suggest things to him and making paintings. So I came home and I had the sheet of paper. Someone had written some notes about the tutorial on the piece of paper for me. I read through them and I thought, all right, I'm going to use this as an instruction manual. So I went to B&Q, bought some sheets of MDF, had them cut in half, so they're 4x4 sheets of MDF, because that was the biggest size that could fit in the cab. And I laid them all around the garden and basically threw paint at them for about 3 or 4 weeks, and just stopped making the abstract marks. I made about 12 of them abstract paintings, and then they worked quite well as abstract paintings, which I've never done abstract paintings before. And I thought, well, what do I do with them now? So I basically brought them in, laid them on the floor, and doodled all over them in like stream of consciousness, like biro figures. And they really worked. It's hard to visualize them, but they really worked as well. And they went down very well. So it worked.
Oh, wow. Did you sell them or anything?
Some of them I sold, yes.
Yeah.
but they actually won a prize, so I was quite pleased about that.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh, so how amazing that something like that comes out of something when you were struggling so much.
Absolutely, yes, yeah. I think that's sometimes how it works, isn't it? Yeah. But,
it's a tortured artist thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Inspiration born of desperation. I think
Yeah.
that was.
So, what would you say is the best way for a beginner artist to develop their own unique style? Because I think that's something that Tara and I hear so much from people who follow along with us is, oh, I want to find my style. It seems to be quite an obsession with artists. So what would your advice be?
Well, I think don't stress about that, because the style will find you in a way, really. If you just make enough work, then style's just something that happens organically, isn't it? I know it's not a great word, but it's like handwriting, isn't it? It's not something you consciously try to do. It's just, if you make enough work, it will eventually style will come. So you just look as much art as you can, really, and do as much art as you can. Don't try and copy other artists. I think people do to start with. They try and like be Picasso on Monday and Rembrandt on Tuesday, but you just look at as many artists as you can and just do as much work as you can. Just keep on doing it, and eventually you'll find that you come out of that process, and your style will evolve. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, and
definitely.
Do you have any tips for people who want to improve their drawing skills?
It's just draw as much as possible, really, and sketchbooks are a really, really good way. I think listening to earlier podcasts, Chris Riddell was talking about secret sketchbooks, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think if you've got a sketch where you don't think it's yours, and knowing you're not drawing for somebody else to look at, then I think you're freer, and you experiment, and you find yourself doing that. I mean, certainly worked with me. I mean, I got lots of sketchbooks. As I say, well, just doodling in biro, and it's just, I think that's a really good way to develop. You try things in there, and you just become more proficient at it. And
so now, when you do your faces now,
yes.
Are they actually in sketchbooks, or do you do those on loose sheets and then you have sketchbooks to back those up as well? You use as well.
Because they're only about A4 size anyway. They're a sketchbook, but I draw them not to be in a sketch. It's not a sketchbook I keep. Once I've drawn it, I take it out and then put it to one side. They're not actually sketchbooks. For me, are a completely different thing. Where it's just I just doodle all over them. Really, they wouldn't be. I suppose you could frame them, but they're not really like that. They're just really messy. Really, sort of draw in every available space. Really.
So you do have two things going on, basically. Then you have your proper faces and then your sketchbooks.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
And is that when you use your sketchbooks? Are you doing that from life? Are you sketching? I don't know, if you're in a car or something waiting for someone. Are you sketching the people walking past, or are you sketching the buildings? Are you doing it from life, or are your sketchbooks? Do you still use like a reference?
It's a bit of everything, really.
Yeah.
Draw from life, but the characters in my sketch, it's like fleeting encounters. You probably see them for like 2 seconds, so you draw as much as you can, and then you make the rest up.
Yeah,
I think sitting in front of the TV with a sketchbook's a really good way of practicing drawing, and just drawing because everything's moving around. And you sort of you're capturing like a moment, and then you can make up the rest or move on to something else. It's just trying to capture something really quickly is quite a good way. And sometimes I just start drawing. It's like a stream of consciousness thing. You pick up a piece and you make a mark, and then you just make something out of it. You just draw completely out of your head as well. I think that's quite a good way I find of drawing, and that's what I do a lot. Just make faces up, make people up completely from my head.
Yeah, so drawing from your imagination is a different skill again, isn't it? Yeah. So aside from talking to Tara and I, obviously, what has been the highlight of your creative adventure so far?
Couple of things really. Recently this year, or last year actually, during lockdown, I went on. Nothing going on, so I went on Twitter, which I hadn't been on for a long time, And Martin Rosen, the Guardian cartoonist and writer and poet, so I had like a draw challenge on it, draw Michael Gove challenge.
All right.
I'd drawn a picture of Michael Gove already at the election night off the TV, so I stuck that on there, and it got loads of likes and retweets and what have you. And then I think the next week he put up a draw Desmond Swain competition, and I didn't know who Desmond Swain was, but he's a Tory MP, so I drew him and then entered it into the draw challenge, and then it won the draw challenge. So he sent me a signed book and a pair of underpants that he'd graffitied and all that. And so,
I wondered if the underpants had a picture of the guy on it.
He'd drawn Desmond Swain on these underpants, and he sent them to me. And these draw challenges, it's just been really great. It's really sort of spurred me on. For inspiration wise, it's brilliant. You draw Boris Johnson, draw whoever, and you draw it and enter in, and it's been really good. And I've got to meet Martin as a result of it and everything. So
wow,
it's been really nice. And he's sent me I've got a few a budding collection of his signed books now as well, which is nice to add to my.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's been really good, and that's quite a community.
So where is that? If anyone else wants to have a go at that, how do they find it?
It's just you go on Martin Rosen on Twitter, and you see there's a hashtag draw competitions, and he sends them out there, and they usually last 2 or 3 weeks, and then he picks a winner. And it's quite good. It's been quite a good community, sort of through social media. I've sort of been in contact with quite a few good artists, through that. He's trying to get a book of them together, actually. He's trying to get funding for it, for his crowdfunding thing. So if you go on his Twitter, you can find out about that as well. Yeah. And the other thing, I was talking about my degree show a few minutes ago, and I put my drawings up at the degree show and actually won the paintings won the Watts Prize. I don't know if you know the Watts Gallery, which is a gallery in Compton near Guildford, sort of built by the Victorian artist George Watts to show his work, because the world deserved to see his work. And they had sort of a painting prize, which my work won, and that led to me being the first artist in residence at the gallery. So that was quite exciting. That was
wow.
That was really really fun. So
what happens with that? Do you actually go and stay there and work there? Literally work there?
It's better now, because when I that was in 2005, and the gallery's since received lottery funding, and it's been completely refurbished. So it's got a artist residence studio, but when I was there, the gallery was pretty much falling down. But I used to go there, work in the sculpture studio, which is a fabulous place to work. So I went there, worked there. I did some teaching there, drawing workshops, and then had an exhibition there at the end of my year. So no, it's really good, and it's led to other things. I've been back there quite a few times. So I've done workshops and teaching, and it's led to other things and contacts and stuff. So that was really good, really exciting. Yeah.
Have you ever thought about teaching online? What you do?
I haven't really. No. It was something I'd probably like to do. Yes. Yeah.
I think we'd be in the queue, wouldn't we?
Absolutely. As I say, I don't think you live that far away. Are you in Surrey?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Well, you watch out. Your doorbell will be
Stalker.
ringing up again. Right. I need you to teach me how to do your drawings.
Just do more of it. That's the thing. It's just
yes,
isn't it? Really? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just going to ask about, you said about your degree show and you did all these abstract backgrounds. Do you do that now?
No. It's having the space to do it. I keep wanting to do it, so I think I will do that again at some stage. I think it's unfinished business, because it was. People said they'd never seen work like it. It's hard to explain it. I've got pictures of them on Instagram, I think, but because they worked on 2 levels, because there's the big square abstract painting, which is one thing, and then there was the very small biro doodlings all over it as well, which was another thing. So you kind of have to see the the physical object in front of you to get the full benefit of it.
If you've got pictures of it, perhaps we could put it on our show notes, because that would be great.
Yes,
so people could see what.
I'll see what I can do. I'll send you what I've
Yeah.
got. But I say it's difficult because on the small screen you can either see the painting or the doodling. Really, it doesn't. When you actually got the object in front of you. I mean, a lot of people, when I was at the degree show, I was watching how people reacted to the work, and a lot of people would just walk up to it, look at it, and say, "Oh, it's just another art student abstract painting," and just walk off. And other people would look at it and they'd see a double take, and they'd see like some rude drawing down in the corner, and then they'd look at it.
I bet we'd spot that, wouldn't we, Tara?
These horrible drawings all over it. Yeah, people doing rude things and all horrible stuff going on.
Oh God, I can't wait to see that one.
Where are the best places for people to find out a bit more about you?
I'm on social media. You mentioned Instagram and Twitter. Now, I think that's probably the best place. I have got a blog, but I mean, I just put the work up really, and might write something about it. But I don't say too much about me. I just.
But the handle on Instagram, you're not Kevin Wells, are you? You're Squiggle King.
That's right. Yeah, Squiggle King, and that wasn't my idea. That was. That came from Martin Rosen as well, actually, because I was posting these drawings, and my drawing style is a bit squiggly, and he commented, and he at some stage he said, this from the Squiggle King." I thought that's too good. That's too good.
So good.
Yeah.
I'll have to steal
is that the same
and
on Twitter?
stuff.
Are you Squiggle King everywhere?
Squiggle
Is that
King
the best?
everywhere now? Yeah. So I can't.
Yeah.
That was too good to let go. I had to steal that.
Definitely.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's been amazing to talk to you. Ever since we came across your drawings, I've been dying to speak.
Yes,
so thank you so much for coming on today. We've really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll speak again sometime.
Hopefully, yes.
Okay, take care then.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you did, perhaps you'd like to share it and leave a review for us on iTunes.